Hello everybody, Assemblyman James Gallagher here, and we're here with Sheriff Brandon Barnes of Sutter County. And we wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that have been going on in public safety during the COVID-19 crisis. What do you think about the governor, releasing now up to 19,000 prisoners from the state prison system? Concerns about how that's being conducted and that whole policy in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think it sets, a bad tone. You're pushing, the state problem back down to the local law enforcement level. These are people that we will now have to interact with in our local communities. One of the questions I had was, if somebody were to offend while they were out and being monitored by, state parole or local probation, would they be immediately transported back to the prison system? Or would they be brought to jail? Because obviously that's another burden on my jail staff. And especially if there's, unfortunately, if they were COVID positive, now I have to accept them. I have to introduce COVID into the jail because I don't have another recourse. So my hope is that they would go directly back to prison. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we being a smaller county wouldn't necessarily have the same numbers that some of the larger counties would have. But the overall effect up and down the state is being felt by the sheriffs.
Right. I know that you have been a champion of helping support the constitutional rights of individuals and these businesses, and protecting our community.
Right.
And so talk to me a little bit about how you navigated that situation and trying to protect those small business owners who are really struggling right now.
Yeah, well, look, I think if you own your own business, you can make an argument that you have a property right, and it's a Fourth Amendment issue. First of all, I don't want to see people be made criminals because they're trying to maintain their livelihood. I don't think that is the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish, certainly in our local area. I think we need to have, local leaders need to have the freedom to manage their communities as they see fit because they know best what's necessary. So yeah, I mean, I've told local businesses, we're continuing to educate. We're continuing to interact with folks at the state level. To try to have open dialogue about, when they're going to be in the area, what can we do ahead of time to help educate our local businesses so they don't find themselves in that position. And so, one concession that was made is we see a lot of our restaurants are now doing some outdoor dining. I think that was a good compromise that allowed businesses to stay open in that respect. But there are a lot of other businesses that there were no accommodations made for, the hairstylists, barbers, nail salons, things of that nature. They're still feeling the pinch and they're still suffering. And I will tell you, I mean, I recognize, what's coming out of Sacramento, but there's not a one size fits all. I think that, our elected officials, all the way from you and Senator Nielsen on down to the local level, and our business leaders in our community, they're all very intelligent people. They can figure this out together. We don't need state oversight to tell us how to run our community. And that's, kind of been my position throughout this whole thing.
Right. I mean, that's what we've really pushed for is really local control.
Right.
Is, hey, allow our regions based on our local data and the science to determine what are the protocols and what are the regulations we need to have in place to protect our communities. We've seen that, most of our cases have come from large gatherings. They're not coming from restaurants. They're not coming from salons, not coming from gyms. They're not coming from churches.
Right.
And I know you've also been a champion of religious freedom and churches. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've met with a lot of the religious leaders in our community and had conversations with them. I will tell you that they have protocols in place that are common sense approaches to keeping people safe. Nobody in the community wants to put people at risk, especially in a parish. And so, they've taken the appropriate steps. And how can you argue against that or try to issue them a citation when in fact, that they're doing the right things by the people that they're overseeing? And so,
There should be a difference between how a free society handles this and an authoritarian society like China. We're not China, man. This is America. And to me, the better way is public education, letting people know, hey, here are the best practices. This is how you can protect your family. Getting that information out there, not mandates, public education. And I think that's something we've really emphasized. Yes, we have had instances, particularly in the area of family gatherings, large gatherings that have been the cause of cases where people just aren't adhering to that, that public education. But it hasn't been in that in that business sector, in the church atmosphere, like those have been operated very safely. And our reopening that we push for, was really successful in that way.
Right. Well, and that's why we started here locally. We started the Need a Mask, Just Ask campaign. It came out of the thought that, if we're going to do any level of, quote unquote enforcement, I would much rather hand somebody some educational materials and a mask and set them on the right path as opposed to giving them a citation and now, making, a criminal out of them in essence and having them have to go to court and explain themselves. That doesn't accomplish, I think, what we're all trying to do in this, which is educate people, get them to a place where they're practicing, good hygiene and social distancing and, seeing, flattening the curve, as they like to say, and, getting back to some sense of normalcy in our community. But at the same time, I'll also say, as of today, we had 528 active cases here in Sutter County, which is about a little over, 0.5% of our population. In my mind, that doesn't justify, an emergency situation. That's a very low number relative to our population. And so,
right.
Through education and just some good practices, we can pull ourselves out of this.
Right. Well, hey, thank you, Sheriff, man. I appreciate the time today, and thank you for your service and your deputies who do a tremendous job each and every day, protecting us, looking out for us, and really interacting with the community, man. And we see that on a daily basis, and so we appreciate the work that you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.